Hotel renovation project faced some difficulties, as the company was unwilling to invest. Seoha had no choice but to seek help from outside. He went to meet his uncle, whose introduction significantly improved the chances of securing after the discussion. Seoha couldn't drive himself home, so his secretary, Do-yoon, came unexpectedly. That as soon as they arrived, Secretary Do-yoon was met by Ji-suk. Also was his old classmate that stopped him. Ji-suk relied on his power to mock and stomp on his phone in front of his friends. After witnessing this incident, feeling indignant on behalf of Secretary Do-yoon, Seoha poured a bottle of wine over Ji-suk's head and almost went so far as to punch him. But fortunately that Secretary Do-yoon intervened in time. The two men then discussed their work and left arm in arm. The next morning, Seoha brought a bouquet of flowers, intending to place it in the flower pot in the hotel lobby. However, a stranger had arrived before him and had already placed an identical bouquet. When Seoha saw this, he asked Ji-um if she was the one who had replaced the flowers. Upon learning that these were the flowers, Ji-um said, for the flowers Seoha's former love had particularly liked. Ji-um was shocked. Was it right that he had loved someone else before? At that moment, Choi-won suddenly entered carrying a large bouquet of flowers. Secretary Do-yoon stopped her and asked why she was there. It turned out that Choi-won had used a fake name to submit a proposal for the hotel's landscape renovation project in order to help both of them. Seoha then called Secretary Do-yoon into an office to question why Choi-won was chosen, given that he was currently unable to meet her. Through the argument inside, Geum had to quietly close the door. Not wanting the harsh words to hurt Choi-won hurriedly turned and walked outside. But after going a short distance, she sat down on the ground and cried. Geum quickly followed her. She felt deeply for her sister but didn't know how to comfort her. She invited Choi-won out for drinks that evening. After a few drinks, Choi-won confessed that she had fallen in love at first sight, which made Geum curious. She remembered the first time Seoha and Choi-won met. Was it really that intense? Choi-won even told her that he had a younger brother who was meticulous, kept accounts and was very good at driving. The description of the person Choi-won spoke of was increasingly different from Geum's image of Seoha, leading her to confirm and ask if Choi-won liked Secretary Do-yoon instead. Choi-won confirmed that this was true. Hearing this, Geum suddenly laughed. It turned out that Choi-won's initial affection was not for Seoha but for Secretary Do-yoon, who was always by his side. At this point, Geum could finally relax, relieved after days of Bustaga trying to face with that awkward situation. Choi-won then revealed to Geum about her biggest rival, who was also her late older sister. Eventually Choi-won, who was extremely drunk, was taken home by Geum. She placed Choi-won in front of her biological mother's house from her past life and then quickly hid nearby. When her mother came out, she didn't hesitate to slap Choi-won and muttered, "Why don't you drink with a man if you're going to drink?" She then asked Choi-won when she planned to get married. Geum, that hiding from a distance, couldn't help but laugh, marveling at how her mother was still the same as ever. However, these words were overheard by her mother, who grabbed Geum's arm and with tears in her eyes, asked if she was Ju-won. Mrs. Yuseon remembered Geum's words that one day, reincarnated and returned to her, so she had always believed and waited for her return. The two embraced emotionally. It seemed like a moment of maternal happiness, but the bitter reality shattered that illusion. It turned out to be just Geum's imagination, fueled by her deep longing to reunite with her family. Seoha, who had intended to visit Choi-won, saw Geum acting strangely in front of the house, crying and laughing as if she were mad. He approached her and turned her around, only to see a trail of tears on her face. Geum was shocked and unconsciously called out Seoha's name, which made him associate her with the Geum snapped out of her daze, realized it's a slip of the tongue that she had inadvertently made Seoha bewildered. She quickly explained that she was Geum and didn't forget to confess her feelings to him once again. Just then, the door suddenly swung open. Mrs. Yuseon, hearing the commotion outside, not wanting to be seen, Seoha grabbed Geum's hand and they ran away quickly. Until when they stopped, Geum suddenly remarked that Seoha's hand was very soft. Embarrassed, Seoha pulled his hand away. To explain her odd behavior earlier, Geum lied to Seoha, saying that seeing Choi-won and her mother made her remember her own mother who had left. She then leaned in and asked him if he wanted to go for a second round, which turned out to mean going for some noodles. The two of them casually sat in front of a convenience store, looking as intimate as a couple. After they finished eating, Geum helped him get a taxi home. During the ride, Seoha was extremely confused, seeing Geum's presence everywhere. He had to remind himself to stay alert, not be brainwashed. Instead of going home, Seoha went to Secretary Do-yoon's house, where he encountered Do-yoon's younger brother in front of the house. It turned out he was the manager of MI Hotel. But there are times when he's so shameless like that. After eating at someone else's house, he even asks to stay the night. That night, as they were going to bed, Seoha told Secretary Do-yoon that he had decided to meet Choi-won to discuss a potential collaboration. To be fair, if not for the unresolved issues in his heart, Choi-won was a capable person. Seoha was teased by Secretary Do-yoon when Geum was mentioned. He felt embarrassed and turned his back to signal that he wanted to sleep, but his thoughts unconsciously drifted to her. Meanwhile, Geum was walking home, and on a deserted road, she crossed paths with a man dressed in a black suit. At the moment they passed each other, the man suddenly stopped, staring at Gum with an intense and suspicious gaze. When Gum got home, she confided in Akyung that she had met her mother from a past life today. Akyung noticed that Gum wasn't in the good mood, so the two of them brought out some alcohol to drink. Gum could be called a god of alcohol, because, technically, this was her third round. She confessed to her niece that she wanted to be with Seoha as Gum, not Ju-won. Meanwhile, the man in the black suit appeared once again, holding a dusty wooden box in his hand, which contained a stick used for rolling dice, resembling the staff used by ancient shamans. The secret of Gum's reincarnation may soon be revealed. The next morning, Seoha and Secretary Do-yoon went to meet Ju-won to discuss the collaboration, and Gum unexpectedly appeared. Looking at Gum, Ju-won suddenly recalled when she took her home the day before. That memory made Ju-won feel as if she kept asking Gum if they had met before, nearly causing Gum to accidentally reveal the truth. She flustered and dropped the teapot on the ground. Seoha hurried over to help her clean up. Gum and Ju-won chimed in, praising Seoha for being a gentleman. While Seoha and Gum were walking through the garden, she boldly declared that from now on, she would confess her love to him 3 times. If in the 3rd time, he still rejected her, she didn't believe he would still turn her down by the 3rd time. Meanwhile, things were no less awkward with Ju-won, who straightforwardly suggested that Secretary Do-yoon go on a blind date with her. Seeing Ju-won's bright expression, it seemed like Secretary Do-yoon might have softened, but unfortunately, he still refused. The next morning, when Gum went to work, she received a phone call from her brother. As soon as she picked up, he demanded money from her, not wanting to hear anymore, so she hung up. Seoha also had a rough morning. As soon as he arrived at the hotel, he ran into the arrogant face of the director's son. Without saying much, Seoha directly ordered security to told him out of the hotel, then went to meet with the director. When she heard that her son had been kicked out, the director could no longer maintain her calm demeanor and started making veiled threats to Seoha, implying that she knew more than he did. After leaving her office, Seoha ordered Secretary Do-yoon to go to the accounting department to retrieve some documents. He decided to review all the records once again to find out what exactly the director had been doing over the past 3 years. Taking advantage of the fact that no one in the accounting department was paying attention, Secretary Do-yoon gathered all the documents. Realizing it was already quite late, Seoha invited Secretary Do-yoon to have dinner with him, but Do-yoon declined and didn't hide the fact that he had to meet the chairman, who was also Seoha's father. Left with no choice, Seoha took a cab to go home by himself. On the way, he was shocked to see Gum running frantically, being chased by a man. It turned out her brother had come to her living place to demand money, roughly grabbed Gum's hair. In an attempt to stop him, Seoha was punched and bloodied. Seeing this, Gum, heartbroken, turned around and hit her brother, then drove him away. Seoha asked for an explanation, and Gum honestly admitted that she now looked like someone from the bottom of society, clinging to him to rise up. Seoha directly refuted this, stating that if she were a money-hungry person clinging to him, she would look more pitiful, not so aggressive like that.